And welcome to this final session. I'm finding it difficult to believe that we've been through these 3 days of wonderful, rich, complex lectures from so many knowledgeable people. The time has gone so fast, and I'm sure that many of you will agree with me that it would be wonderful to continue this. I think I must start from a personal perspective and just to say thank you to everybody in Zagreb, the whole team, for bringing together this conference. These things take a lot of planning. We first started planning for this conference over a year ago. And then, of course, the pandemic came in and made it look like we wouldn't be able to host this conference at all. It's a shame that we couldn't all meet in the beautiful city of Zagreb, but nevertheless, I think that the conference that has been convened has been wonderful. So I would like to thank everybody who's contributed to making it such a success. I'd like to thank all of the speakers. I think we've had such a wonderful array of contributions from such knowledgeable people who have brought to us their own awareness of the problem, but also their clinical experience. And that's been something that I think most of us will be able to take away and incorporate into our work. And of course, I'd like to thank everybody who's attended the session, to you for tuning into this conference, and I hope it's been as exciting and as interesting to you as it has been from me. I mean, as I say, I think from my perspective, what's been particularly exciting about this conference has been the contributions that have been so rich in both theoretical and clinical content. I know that I will be a better practitioner from having listened and participated in this conference. I think also what's been striking has been the focus on the child in this particular conference. It's something that I think is very often missing from discussions about parental alienation. Bizarrely, this is the focus of our work, and yet very often in those kind of diagnostic approaches to understanding why children end up rejecting a parent, the child appears very much as an object rather than a subject. And I think that what's been interesting in this conference, particularly for me, has been the way that the child has accompanied us through the whole of the 3 days of this conference, and has been a subject in the descriptions and the contributions from all of the speakers. It was interesting also for me, I think, as I was thinking about what we'd heard yesterday during the evening, I was thinking about Jill Solberg's presentation and her thoughts on the transgenerational transmission of trauma, and how the work that we're doing is perhaps not just located just in the here and now and relieving the child from the burden of psychological splitting in the present, but is also about contributing to the potential for that transgenerational transmission to be switched off so that it doesn't get passed down to the generations that come afterwards. And so I think it adds an extra dimension to the work that we're doing. I'd like to perhaps just talk to some of the members of the board that we have here. And I'm pleased to welcome Gordana and Sitska and Karen, and also I'm hoping that Wilfred is with us as well. Are you with us, Wilfred?
I'm here.
Hello, Wilfred. It's so good to see you. Wilfred, you've been working in this field for a very, very long time, and I guess have seen quite a lot of changes. I wondered, from your perspective, as somebody who has been involved for many, many years, what the most interesting aspect of this particular conference has been for you?
The practical, clinical things, what you can do as intervention. Because in Germany, there is no real intervention. all the experts, all the professionals, all the courts, most of the courts say, if the child doesn't want, we cannot do anything, wait until the child. And I have learned through this wonderful, marvelous, and scientifically based presentations that that's not right. You can do something. And I hope that this Congress voices very loud into the world, into the European professional world, and also in the world of my country, and also to the WHO, retired parental alienation as index factor from the ICD, which is a catastrophe, I think. The result of the Zagreb marvelous, wonderful presentations, voice into the world of the professionals.
Thank you, Wilfred. I think that's a very optimistic view to think about, that we are dealing, yes, there's a lot of theoretical understanding of this problem, but also there are practical solutions. There is best practice. We do know how to bring successful outcomes for children. And I think perhaps what you're stressing there is the need for us to be sharing this best practice with professionals across borders. And of course, that is one of the key aims of the European Association, because I think there's wonderful work being done in lots of different countries, and we need to be a powerful voice to bring about change in that. Thank you very much, Wilfred.
Thank you to all the presenters, especially all the presentations. They're wonderful.
Thank you, Wilfred. Turning to you, Sietske, one of the, I think, striking things about this particular conference has been the, I guess, the interdisciplinary aspect to it. We've had people from lots and lots of different backgrounds: psychiatrists, psychologists, psychotherapists, social workers, researchers, lots of different people. I wondered from your perspective, what you think that contributes to our wider understanding of the problem.
Yes, that's a very good question, Nick, because I was also very impressed. I could not stay today because due of other work situations, but I attended the first 2 days and they went so quickly, and I was so amazed by the quality of the speakers. For instance, to have this more in-depth view on what splitting means and what the impact of it is and how the psychiatric boundaries of it are. But we have also seen, like I followed now Simone's talk, that in different countries we are in different stages and we have different roles and different disciplines from where we start. So she starts from this point in policy, and the point from the country policy, and also her position as a mediator. So I think we can maybe, to this conference, we kind of can remap or broaden the map what PA is in fact is. And the way I see it, PA is in fact something which turns up on superficially, which comes out, and of course it has huge impact. And it's like a volcano. And if the volcano is active, we have a lot of damage, and we start to do damage control. But I think that we went into the volcano on different layers, different disciplines, and we have seen in the maps, in that landscape, what's going on there. And that's far more important, and that maybe brings intervention strategies more near, learning from each other, having different helping disciplines to have deeper understanding what's going on. But also, I think that Croatia and Romania can help us in other European countries to get it more on the political agenda, because it is possible to be more proactive on it. And it's still, for me, in the Netherlands, it goes too slow. So this might be also a way of speeding up and having these professional standards underneath.
Thank you, Sietske. And I think you raise a number of really interesting and important points there. I think, first of all, just to address that last point, I get the sense that there's been a lot of interest in the conference within Croatia, and that's obviously down to the hard work done by the team at the Zagreb clinic, who have really used this conference as an opportunity to open the wider debate. But I think one of the things it shows to us is that when you do try to start that debate, actually, although there's a lot of hostility, there is also a lot of interest as well, and people are beginning to shift their understanding and recognize this as something that is a problem of child abuse, is a problem that needs to be dealt with at a macro level. But I also think, you know, that idea that you've just talked about as working in different environments is also particularly important. I think Sandra's discussion this morning, she talked about Brazil and the particular environment that they have. When we are, I guess, curating our best ways of working with this problem, it seems to me what we also need to factor in is the flexibility within those approaches that matches the different disciplines that we all work in, but also matches the different socio-legal systems that we are all operating in. And I think that is something that the bringing people together from different countries allows us to do. It allows us to think flexibly and to take bits from different parts and bring together something better and stronger and more robust.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
we all get more knowledgeable by following this as participants and the speakers in this conference. And that's what a true community of practice, an international community of practice, should be about.
Absolutely. And I think that the sharing of clinical experience is something that is absolutely vital if we're going to start to make inroads. I think the one lesson that we've learned in the United Kingdom is that you change policy, you change public opinion, you change the court process by showing the success. And if we are able to replicate those successes across borders, then it very rapidly changes, because the judiciary, who are struggling to resolve these cases, suddenly see examples of how it can be changed. And of course, they want these cases to be resolved and out of their courts. Thank you very much for that, Sietske. Karen, where do we go from here?
Well, it's hard to think of the road ahead when we're still digesting such a rich content of presentations, of thought-provoking discussions, of contributions from people. I feel as if there have been many hands bringing pieces of jigsaw puzzle together so that we can see a picture of the road ahead, perhaps. So I'll try to think about the way in which we might think about the road ahead. For me, the biggest sort of movement forward as I've watched different presentations has been the way in which the central concept of splitting and the harm that does to children has been so readily taken up and explored and expanded and illuminated. I learned such a great deal more about splitting and the impact on children, the longer term impact as well as the immediate term impact. That's been incredibly useful for me. I think Professor Bruna Profaka's statement is an alienated child, a traumatized child, in the sense that they are alienated from themselves and their ability to regulate their own feelings. Yes, we are dealing with traumatized, abused children. And for me, that's the central heart, it's the beating heart of what we're doing. We want to move this evolving field forward into a practice-based approach to helping children who have become alienated from their own sovereign selves to heal and to move forward with health and into their own right to an unconscious experience of childhood. The way we do that for me is to think about this concept of relational trauma, which brings to it all of the different strands that we've worked with over the past 3 days. The transgenerational element, the power and abuse dynamic, power and control dynamic, the attachment dynamic, all of those different component parts of this issue have been brought together by this conference. And for me, relational trauma as an overarching concept is a way forward. I think the other thing that we need to really put at the forefront of our minds as we take our first steps on this new road is the way, a way of thinking that Jill Solberg really produced for us, which is to think about the trauma in the whole of the family, the alienated parent and the alienating parent, as well as the child. We want to help people to create transformational characters in a transgenerational line of trauma. Parental alienation is a popular label that we've used. I would like to see the future being about bringing about transformational change in which children are liberated from carrying this horrible, horrible burden, and parents on all sides, families on all sides of the child's life are helped to heal. I think Claire Francica's comment in our panel discussion a couple of days ago really illuminated this for me. She said, when the ignition of this problem in the child alights, so when the trigger of the splitting occurs, then the fragmented splitting that occurs on all sides of the child's life in the adults and the wider family is catastrophic. We need to work with a model of healing alienation, which integrates all of that splitting and allows the child to put down that burden and move forward. And for me, watching the presentation, seeing all of that come together has sort of brought together the road forward for clinicians and also for research which is informed by a new practice, a holistic approach. Now that may sound too optimistic, it may sound too visionary, it may sound ridiculous to some people, but actually I think that this conference has showcased that possibility. And so that for me is the way ahead. I want to say, having all of that located in Zagreb, in a region which has suffered itself so many struggles and difficulties, but found a way through that, a country which has suffered itself the physical splits of an earthquake right in the middle of a pandemic. It seemed to me almost right and proper that this healing conference, this beginning of a new road forward, should be held in Zagreb, and so beautifully held and so beautifully managed by everyone who's been involved. I want to say such a heartfelt thanks for all of that hard work that's made this such a wonderful experience.
Thank you, Karen. I think that's, I think it is, in terms of what I've experienced in this last week has been I guess the enrichment of our thinking about the rupturing of healthy relationships, normal, healthy attachment relationships. And that idea of us as practitioners focusing on the health of the whole family, focused obviously on the child, but recognizing the maladaptations and the ruptures and fractures and splits around the family that create the primary split within the child. For me, that is perhaps a different way of thinking about what we need to be focusing on as practitioners in this field. Thank you for that contribution. Gordana, just again, thank you so much for putting together such a wonderful conference. And I know how hard you and your team have worked behind the scenes to bring this together. And I think I was saying to Sietske, I'm aware of the interest that there has been in this conference and in the work that you are doing at the clinic. I wonder from your perspective, how you feel this conference may contribute to change in the region, within Europe, and even perhaps further afield.
Thank you, Nick. I was talking to my colleagues from our center and also from some other countries around. And everybody said that they learned a lot in this conference. And that maybe the most important thing is that we are now sure that parental alienation is emotional abuse of a child. And it is going to help us in protecting those children at the courts. And it is going to help us to recognize it as a real emotional abuse and to report it to the institutions that we have to report abuse of children. So we really learned a lot. But also one other aspect of this conference is very important for us. We realized that we all struggle the same battles. We all have similar problems with being attacked, with social media, with media generally, but we are all dedicated to protecting children, and it was very healing for us to hear how other professionals are dealing with it and how we can help each other in this situation.
Thank you, Gordana. I think that's a point that's very important. I think so many people that work in this field find themselves isolated so much of the time, and I think it can be quite frightening to be on the receiving end of the negative projections of people. We know the allegations that people make against us are untrue, in the way that rejected parents know that the allegations against them are untrue. And yet over time it begins to wear us down and makes it more difficult for us to be able to do the work that we know that children need us to do. And I think you're absolutely right. To be able to share those experiences helps all of those people who are working in this field to feel more secure, to feel that they're not quite so isolated. And I think that meets one of the major criteria for setting up the association in the first place, which was to bring people together to support and protect each other. Thank you very much to all of you for your contributions and for your final thoughts here. And I'd now like to invite Gordana to officially close the conference, and once more with my sincere thank yous and grateful thanks for that, Gordana.
Thank you, Nick. I would like to say that this is the end of the conference, but it is not the end of our journey, obviously. And I really want to thank you, Nick, and Karen. Thank you very much. You are our teachers, our supervisors, our colleagues, friends, and professional soulmates. My thanks and gratitude goes to all the European Association of Parental Alienation Practitioners, and also to all members. Thank you, Veronica, for perfect organization of this conference. And I also want to thank to my team at the center. I'm really proud to be your director. And I'm also thankful to City of Zagreb. City of Zagreb is really supportive over all these years in child protection. Without support of City of Zagreb, we would not be the experts that we are. And special thanks to 18,000 of our clients and families that have came through our center. And I would like to finish with Benjamin Bailey's quote that really moved me yesterday, that and also reminded me on my battle and our battle in Croatia with sexual abuse 25, 30 years ago, when we were attacked the same way that we are attacked now, and when this problem was not recognized as it is recognized now. So he said that it is not a short race, it is a marathon. And I strongly believe today, more than ever, we can complete it. Thank you, everybody, once again.